When an entire classroom full of students disappeared in 1988, no one could believe it. It was a mystery that bewildered the nation, as its children disappeared for almost 40 years. That is, until a woman came forward. Sophie Ryder, a woman who claimed to have been part of the class the day they went missing, promised to tell the chilling story of their disappearance. And something happened that no one could have expected. It was a Tuesday in April in 1988 when Mr. Hemington led his students into the woods for a geography lesson. He thought it was a great day to look at the blooming flora and fauna, saying that real knowledge can often be gained outside the classroom through real-life experiences. He had no idea that this would become a huge mistake. The students were enjoying the nice weather, and the school principal was allowing it. He agreed with Teacher Hemington's methods and knew that he and the children would never be too far away. So when the clock struck 3, the entire school was in a panic. Everyone wondered where Mr. Hemington and the children had gone. Principal Clarkson was the first to call the police, not wanting to get the hope that they were simply too late. He decided it was better to be safe than sorry. After giving the police details of where Mr. Hemington might have gone, 2 officers went out to search for them, but it seemed all in vain. But as minutes turned into hours, more officers and parents joined the search. "They couldn't have disappeared from the face of the earth," said the mother, who went into the forest with a flashlight in her hand. Eventually, a platoon of men marched through the forest, and the police even began using dogs. No matter their efforts, for some reason, it didn't seem to work. That is, until the dog finally caught the scent. The loud barking of 2 dogs echoed through the forest, and parents in the area began to gain hope. The dogs stopped when they found the ribbon, but not the girl who was wearing it nearby. After a few weeks, everyone gave up, fearing the worst. How could a group of 23 children and a teacher just disappear? It was a mystery that many feared would never be solved. Symbolic funerals were held because no remains were found, nothing of the children, except that lonely ribbon. When strange stories began to circulate, parents, family members, and loved ones never reconciled with their children. Over the years, people began to move away, unable to bear the loss of so many young lives. Folk tales began to appear that during the full moon, babies could be heard crying. The townspeople's imaginations went wild until Sophie Ryder showed up. No one recognized her as she walked the streets, but how could they, when she and others had been missing for almost 35 years? She was unrecognizable, as she was now in her 40s. She had never even seen her mother at that age. The way she looked now reminded her more of her grandmother than her real mother on the day she disappeared. Her first steps in the city were uncertain. Everything was much newer. The infrastructure had changed, and everything was modern, something she had never seen before. She didn't even notice all the stares she received because she didn't think twice about the weird rags she was wearing. But to the onlookers, it was very strange indeed. "Ma'am," Sophie said to a woman walking past her. The woman seemed surprised by Sophie's sudden words, but remained polite. "Yes?" she said hesitantly. "Where's the police station?" she asked, thinking that would be a great place to end this whole adventure she had been on, if you could even call it that. Following the clues, Sophie moves through the transformed landscape towards the police station, noticing distinct changes. Buildings rose where trees had once stood, and the streets were bustling with unfamiliar cars. Each step was a reminder of the time that had slipped away, but her focus remained on reaching her destination, driven by the weight of her untold story. The modern look of the city compared to her memories stuns Sophie, but her mission to find help remains clear. Electronic billboards flashed where handwritten signs once hung. People were absorbed in their devices, oblivious to the world around them. Sophie pressed forward, staring at the police station before her, a beacon of hope in this unknown world. Upon entering the police station, Sophie's outdated clothes and disheveled appearance attract curious and skeptical glances from officers and civilians alike. Her outdated clothing contrasts sharply with the sleek, modern surroundings. Officers stop talking, and civilians watch as Sophie heads to the front desk, determined to be heard. The air thickened with unspoken questions as all eyes focused on Sophie, signaling the beginning of her incredible claim. She stood there, anachronistic against the digital displays and uniformed officers. Despite the strange whispers and sideways glances, Sophie cleared her throat, ready to unravel the mystery that had consumed her and her classmates for decades. Despite skepticism, Sophie's determination shines through, setting the stage for her extraordinary story. With every officer and civilian within earshot, Sophie begins to recount the events of that fateful day in 1988, drawing listeners deeper into the mystery with each word. The room fell silent, hanging on her every word as she prepared to reveal what had happened to her and her classmates. Sophie gathers her courage and tells the police her story, claiming that she is the child who disappeared in 1988. She speaks seriously, her voice steady despite the incredulous stares. The officers scribble notes, their expressions a mix of curiosity and skepticism. Sophie's account of the day she disappeared fills the room, questioning the boundaries of belief. Police officers, surprised by her account, express skepticism, considering the possibility of mental instability or fabrication. They whisper to each other, weighing the plausibility of her story against its impossibility. Sophie watches as their doubts grow, and her story seems to move further and further from acceptance. The air thickens with quiet questions as the officers glance at each other, unsure of how to proceed. Whispered discussions among the officers wonder about the authenticity of Sophie's incredible story. They gather in corners, stealing glances at her, debating what might be true. The idea of a child returning after decades in an unchanged state strains credibility. But Sophie stands firm, her story unwavering amidst the growing murmurs of disbelief. Sophie's insistence on her story is met with a wall of disbelief, escalating the tension in the room. The officers exchange skeptical glances, doubt written all over their faces. Sophie's frustration grows as she realizes her words are falling on incredulous ears. Her plea for understanding seems to echo, unanswered, in a room now divided by skepticism and hope. The situation changes when the police commissioner, intrigued by Sophie's claim, steps in to assess the situation. With a commanding presence, he silences the room, his interest piqued by the unusual nature of Sophie's story. The boss approaches Sophie with cautious curiosity. When he begins to speak, the room falls silent, and all eyes are on the unfolding interaction between Sophie and the powers that be that could change everything. The police chief, drawn to the commotion, notices a significant frayed ribbon in Sophie's hand. His eyes narrow, recognizing the faded material. The silence in the room grows as he steps closer, his gaze focusing on the ribbon. Sophie holds it in front of her as she waits. Her boss's interest deepens visibly, marking a key moment in their interaction. Recognizing the ribbon as a key element from the past, the boss's curiosity is piqued, indicating a turning point. He reaches out, gently taking the ribbon from Sophie and turning it over in his hands. The evidence, silent but telling, bridges the gap between disbelief and possibility. The boss glances from the ribbon to Sophie, a silent acknowledgement passing between them. Sophie's story finds a moment of confirmation when her boss connects the ribbon to the initial search in 1988. He recalls the frantic efforts to find the missing classroom and how that particular ribbon became a symbol of the unsolved mystery. Sophie observes her boss, and his reaction confirms the weight of her claims. A shared understanding begins to form, rooted in the tangible connection of the ribbon. The boss invites Sophie to his office for a private conversation as he prepares to delve into old case files. The room is silent except for the sound of the door closing behind them. The boss motions for Sophie to sit down while he pulls a dusty folder out of the cabinet. The air is thick with anticipation as they prepare to unravel the story locked away in old documents. The police chief recalls his time as a search officer in 1988 to Sophie, recognizing the significance of the ribbon. She shares her first-hand experience, describing the day the ribbon was found and how it became a haunting reminder of an unsolved case. Sophie listens intently, her boss's memories providing a bridge to her own. Together, they begin to piece together the puzzle of the past. In his office, his boss compares Sophie's ribbon to one found during his search, sensing a deep connection. She examines both ribbons closely, noting their striking similarity. A tense silence fills the room as she places the pieces side by side, matching the colors and the jagged edges. This visual parallel draws a line from past to present, connecting Sophie directly to the mystery. The identical initials on the ribbon serve as undeniable evidence, lending the first element of physical credibility to Sophie's story. The boss, now holding both ribbons, turns to Sophie with a new look in his eyes. The skepticism that once clouded his judgment begins to clear as the initials meticulously stitched into the fabric. The chief's skepticism begins to wane, replaced by a budding belief in the extraordinary narrative. He sits back in his chair, absorbing the implications of the evidence presented to him. The reality of Sophie's claims, once incomprehensible, begins to take root in his mind. The room, once filled with doubt, now throbs with the potential to unravel a decades-old mystery. Encouraged by his newfound trust, the chief asks about the fate of the other survivors, taking a step toward discovering the truth. Sophie hesitates, weighed down by the weight of memories. Then she begins to tell the story of her classmates, her words slow but measured. The chief listens intently, piecing together the pieces of the story Sophie tells, each detail a thread in the larger tapestry of their ordeal. Sophie reveals the loss of the professor and the survival of several individuals, painting a grim picture of their ordeal. The boss's expression turns somber as he realizes the gravity of Sophie's relationship. The story of survival against all odds is marked by profound loss and the resilience of those involved. As Sophie talks, a new determination falls upon the boss, fueling his resolve to dig deeper into the case. The boss realizes the gravity of the situation, aware of the astonishing 35-year gap since their disappearance. He leans forward, taking in the enormity of what Sophie has shared. His mind races with the implications of her story, understanding the vastness of time that has passed and the immediate need to act on this newfound information. Conversations shift to planning a rescue operation as the chief understands the urgent need to find remaining survivors. He begins organizing resources, contacting specialist search and rescue teams. The atmosphere is tense but focused as discussions of logistics and strategy fill the room. The chief's leadership directs the flow of ideas, shaping the beginnings of a coordinated effort to bring survivors home. Sophie's account of their survival evokes a mixture of hope and determination to help other survivors. The boss's commitment to the cause grows stronger, fueled by the resilience of Sophie and her classmates. He stands there, calling and giving orders, his determination clear. The team around him is motivated by the chance to reunite survivors with their families after so long. Sophie describes the grim situation of the survivors, highlighting the emotional and physical effects of their long-term isolation. It talks about the hardships they had to face, the struggle for food and warmth, and the strength they had to muster to survive. The chief and his team listen, realizing the reality of the situation, emphasizing the urgency of the rescue operation they are about to undertake. The logistical challenge of rescuing the others becomes apparent, and Sophie notices a small exit that only she could get through. He explains the difficulties of the terrain and the narrow paths leading to their shelter. The chief takes notes, his mind working on solutions to overcome these obstacles. The conversation turns technical, focusing on gear and strategies for reaching the survivors in their hidden location. The revelation that they survived thanks to a narrow escape route further complicates the rescue mission. The chief paces the room, considering the implications. Every detail Sophie provides is critical in shaping the rescue plan. She understands the complexity of the operation, knowing that conventional methods will not suffice. The team must innovate, finding new ways to navigate the dangerous path Sophie describes. The chief listens attentively, and the gravity of the story deepens his determination to help the survivors escape their long imprisonment. He nodded, absorbing Sophie's every word, the gravity of the situation etched into his determination. With each detail, the urgency grows, forcing him to act quickly. The chief's focus sharpens, fueled by the need to bring the survivors back to safety. The conversation becomes strategic, focusing on how to carry out a rescue mission in difficult circumstances. Maps are laid out on a table, and routes are discussed with rescue experts. The chief coordinates, making sure every angle is considered. Planning is meticulous, as the team weighs the risks and strategizes the best approach to reach the survivors and extract them safely. The chief, although disoriented, is determined to act, calling in specialized rescue teams to cope with the difficult conditions. He orders the mobilization of experts equipped to handle the treacherous terrain. The room buzzes with activity, as connections are made and resources are gathered. The chief oversees preparations, ensuring the operation has the best chance of success, despite daunting odds. Sophie's hope and anxiety reflect mixed emotions of anticipation and fear as the rescue operation begins to take shape. She watches the intense action, her heart caught between the joy of potentially reuniting with her friends and the fear of the unknown challenges they face. Sophie stands nearby, her presence a silent testament to the stakes of the upcoming mission. Logistical and security preparations for the rescue operation underscore the unique challenges posed by the situation. The chief oversees the assembly of equipment and the briefing of teams, emphasizing the need for precision and caution. Every piece of equipment, from ropes to harnesses, is checked and rechecked. The complexity of the operation requires careful planning and understanding of the difficult task. Community involvement is growing and specialized teams are coming together to assist in the effort, underscoring the importance of the operation. Volunteers from nearby areas are coming in, offering their skills and support. The collective determination to help with the rescue effort is palpable. The chief coordinates with these teams, ensuring their contributions are directed to where they are most needed. This collaboration underscores the community's determination to bring survivors home. Sophie's story becomes a beacon of hope, motivating a collective effort to bring the survivors back to safety. Her courage and the prospect of reuniting missing students with their families inspire all involved. Conversations between teams are filled with a renewed sense of purpose, fueled by the tangible goal of rescue and the emotional weight of the mission. News of Sophie's miraculous return and her sensational story spread quickly, attracting media attention. Reporters and journalists flocked to the police station, wanting to capture every detail of the unfolding drama. Cameras and microphones are everywhere, and media outlets are scrambling for interviews and updates. The police chief is carefully managing this influx, aware of the media's information power, but also the need to protect the integrity of the operation. Reporters and journalists flock to the police station, wanting to capture every detail of the unfolding drama. Their presence marks a significant change in the visibility of the rescue operation, drawing national and even international eyes to the small town. The chief ponders how to maintain a balance between transparency and operational security. Sophie's story, now a global narrative, becomes a focal point for discussions about hope, resilience, and the human spirit. Unprepared for the media onslaught, Sophie finds herself overwhelmed by the questions and camera flashes, a stark contrast to her years of isolation. She tries to navigate through a sea of microphones pointed at her, and the bright lights momentarily blind her. Sophie, struggling to remain calm, is led away by officials who try to shield her from the intensity of the public gaze. The media frenzy brings Sophie's story into the spotlight, creating a public fascination with the story and the significance of the rescue mission. People across the country are glued to their screens, fascinated by the unfolding events. The story of survival and resilience resonates, drawing attention to the critical nature of the operation and the collective hope for a successful rescue. At the rescue site, Sophie points out a small, hidden cave entrance, emphasizing the daunting reality of the operation. The rescue team gathers around, focusing on assessing the entry point. Sophie's guidance is invaluable. Her first-hand knowledge of the terrain provides key details for navigating the complexities of the upcoming operation. The rescue team, equipped with specialist equipment, begins the delicate task of widening the passage without compromising safety. Every move is calculated, with experts carefully clearing debris and shoring up the structure. The operation is tense, and the team's efforts are underscored by the critical need to preserve the cave's integrity while creating a viable path for rescue. The team works diligently to ensure safe entry into the cave, closing in on the survivors. The sound of equipment and coordinated commands fills the air, attesting to the complexity of the operation and the dedication of the team. With every inch gained, the anticipation grows, marking a significant step towards reaching those who have been lost for so long. The atmosphere is tense with anticipation as the passageway finally opens, marking a significant breakthrough in the rescue operation. The rescue team and onlookers hold their breath as the first rays of light penetrate the long-sealed cave. This moment, the culmination of countless hours of planning and work, heralds the beginning of a new chapter for the survivors waiting below. One by one, the survivors are brought to the surface, their emergence a testament to the resilience and success of the daring rescue operation. Every face, though tired, glows with the joy of freedom. Cheers and tears mix in the air as families come together, embracing loved ones they feared to lose. The sight of survivors who were once thought to be a dream becomes a reality as they come into the light of day. After the rescue is complete, Sophie begins to detail their harrowing experience, beginning with the unexpected appearance of a bear during their hike. He describes the panic when the bear appeared and how their laughter turned to screams. Their teacher, thinking quickly, led them to a nearby cave, seeking shelter from the approaching threat. This decision, made in moments of fear, will forever change the course of their lives. It tells how their teacher led them to the safety of a cave that collapsed, sealing their fate underground. The collapse was sudden, a cascade of rock and dust blocking their exit. In those first moments, disbelief and fear gripped them, the reality of their situation sinking in. They were trapped, with no way out, and their hopes rested on a slim chance of rescue. Sophie describes their adaptation to life underground, using abandoned miners' supplies and the cave's natural resources to survive. They found old mining equipment, remnants of a bygone era that became crucial to their daily existence. Water seeped from the cave walls, and they discovered edible mushrooms. Their will to live transformed the cave from a prison into a home, demonstrating their incredible resilience and ingenuity. The story of their subterranean existence, sustained by an underwater river and natural flora, highlights their incredible resilience. They managed to survive in the darkness, relying on the whispering water and the meager resources of the cave. This testament to their survival skills underscores not only their ability to adapt, but also the strength of their spirit against all odds. The community listens in awe to Sophie's story of survival and adaptation, revealing a remarkable testament to human resilience. The people gathered in City Hall hang on to every word, moved by the story of resilience. The story resonates, bridging the gap between the unimaginable reality of the survivors and the outside world, now united in awe and relief. Other survivors confirm Sophie's story, adding details about the professor's death and the resting places of those who died from the disease. Their voices, though tinged with sadness, reinforce the narrative of survival. They speak of marking the places where their friends and teacher lie, a grim reminder of the price paid and the bonds forged deep in the earth. They tell of their constant search for a way out, culminating in the recent discovery of a small hole, a hopeful but elusive way of escape. Working together, they explored every inch of their underground prison, their determination never wavering. The discovery of the hole spurred them into action and caused them to widen it enough for one of them to pass through. Their shared narrative paints a picture of unwavering hope and determination in the midst of adversity, marking a poignant chapter in their saga. Despite difficult challenges, their spirit remained unbroken, fueled by the dream of returning and meeting again. This story, which they now share with the world, is a powerful testament to the human capacity for hope and resilience in the face of insurmountable odds. The reunion with families begins, a deeply emotional moment where loved ones are reunited after decades apart. In the spacious hall, survivors enter the arms of their waiting families. Tears and smiles mingle in a scene of pure joy. The air vibrates with the sounds of names being called, and hugs surround those who were lost, now found and embraced with warmth. The survivor's story, now public, has resonated widely, becoming a story of resilience, survival, and the indomitable human spirit. News outlets and social media are abuzz with discussion about the survivors' incredible journey. Schools and communities are holding meetings to share their stories, inspiring others with their unwavering courage and the power of hope in overcoming unimaginable challenges. Community support for survivors and their families underscores the powerful bonds of humanity and compassion. Fundraisers and support groups are popping up, offering resources and emotional support. Local businesses are providing materials, and community specialists are. Mental health professionals volunteer their services, creating a network of care that surrounds survivors in a collective embrace, reinforcing the message that no hardship is too great when faced together. The story of the survivors, etched into the heart of the community, inspires people around the world. Letters and messages of support have poured in, each one a testament to the impact their story has had on the world. Survivors, once isolated in darkness, now shine as beacons of hope. Their legacy a reminder of the resilience rooted in the human spirit. As the initial wave of media attention fades, survivors and their families begin their journey forward together. Community events are being organized to celebrate their return, integrating them back into society with love and support. The experience changed them, but it also strengthened the bonds within the community, showing the profound strength that can. Do you like this touching and surprising story? If so, we invite you to leave us a comment expressing your opinion. If you want to continue enjoying inspiring stories like this one, subscribe to our channel or check out the other videos shown at the bottom of the screen. Thank you for your cooperation,